begin this Saturday afternoon in the North Bay. Napa police confirming with us that a mother is under arrest on suspicion of DUI after a crash killed her 2 children. Happened on southbound Highway 29 at the Amola Avenue off-ramp this morning. CHP said that the mother, a 10-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl were in the car when it veered off the road and crashed into a tree. Children died at the scene. The mother was taken to the hospital for major injuries and was arrested. CHP said that all 3 people were wearing their seatbelts at the time. Our other headline, thousands of fired federal workers should get their jobs back tomorrow because of a new court order, but it's not clear if the Trump administration will reinstate their jobs. Federal workers who were fired said that they haven't been told about the reinstatement. As you can imagine, there is a lot of confusion. Federal workers and their supporters held a protest in San Francisco. Dahlin was there. He's got this report.
A few hundred people rallied in front of San Francisco City Hall on Sunday afternoon to protest the mass firings of federal workers.
Nearly everyone I work with is in fear right now. Even giving this interview, I'm afraid. I think there's been a real chilling effect in the way they just summarily terminate people.
But Andrew Fish says he's got to stand up and fight back against the bullies. Fish works for the National Park Service. He says the Elon Musk-led Doge has already fired about 10 co-workers in his area.
This isn't meant just to destroy the federal government. It's meant to traumatize us along the way. We're being bullied, and you're right, we're angry.
He and many other federal workers from different departments say they're fed up with the demonization and being labeled by many in the Trump administration as waste.
Of the 4 people working on it, 2 have been illegally fired. And, I'm not allowed to work right now. They've told us, pens down, don't do any work tasks.
Solange Hilfinger-Pardo works for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She says they just want to end the chaos and go back to work.
I love my job. I'm passionate about my job. And there's a lot of work to be done to protect the American consumer, right?
Even though a couple of judges have ordered the Trump administration to reinstate the fired workers, no one here is clear if it will happen and when it'll happen.
I am worried if I don't have a job, we're not going to have health care. I have 2 small kids.
Fish says, like many people here, they're dedicated workers who just want to go back to doing what they love.
I don't know if we'll win. I don't know what will come of this, but it's worth fighting for it. I believe in this country.
There are a lot more questions and answers right now, but we should find out more on Monday on how the Trump administration will respond to those court rulings, basically saying those fired workers should be brought back to work ASAP.
Dahlin in San Francisco. It is day 3 of the California Republican Convention in Sacramento. Party members tell Lauren Toms they are optimistic about having a more conservative California.
In Sacramento, just blocks from the state capitol, California Republicans eager to make their voices heard. And for Republicans like former state party leader Fred Whitaker, the convention is just the start of their push to cement Republican priorities across the nation.
There is less bitterness or anger. Certainly, I think there's an optimism, and an optimism produces energy, which I think is going to turn into election victories.
A delegate and longtime Republican, Whitaker sees extra momentum at this year's convention to shore up Republican priorities. At the top of a long list of Biden policies to undo sits reducing the scope and power of the federal government, like we're seeing through Trump and Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency.
If we can reduce the size of the administrative state by reducing regulations, by consolidating different programs, we're going to actually, I think, unleash the economy, and you're going to get the government back to its original purpose.
It's not just policies they're looking to reverse, but to flip a state that has become woven into the fabric of the Democratic Party.
And when people are upset with things that are going on in California, the high cost of living, the lack of public safety, homelessness, crime, you name it, it's at the Democrats' doorstep that we can lay those issues.
But that call is unfathomable to some counter-protesters who took up a street corner to make their voices heard. Penny Rose says the Trump administration marks one of the greatest threats to freedom she's faced in a lifetime.
We've been married 50 years, and we've gone through many, many different struggles, but this is one of the hardest struggles that we're becoming involved in. And it's really sad at the ending of our lives that we have to endure this, but we have to protect our children and great-grandchildren, so it's important.
But for Whitaker, the noise outside is drowned out by the sense of urgency inside the halls of the convention.
And when you have enthusiasm, people are motivated to get off the couch and walk and go talk to their neighbor. And it's going to actually produce more good election results on top of what we accomplished in November.
Capitalizing on an energized hope for a more conservative California.
And in other news tonight, windy enough to fly an iron kite in the Bay Area today. No wonder the Weather Service gave us a heads up, and so is Darren Pack with a look at what happens from here.
We're just getting started, Brian. We've seen a few light showers that have moved across the North Bay over the last few hours. Primarily, this has just been a really good-looking cloud show for the majority of us. A beautiful time lapse up there from the top of the Mark Hopkins Hotel. But you're also seeing the last hour of radar. Let me show you when this gets more impressive from a rainfall standpoint. First thing we're going to do is take the rain from where it is now and bring it ahead to about 8 o'clock tonight, because that's when the more widespread rain is going to show up for just about everybody. Now, that looks different. So this is when the cold front starts to come on shore tonight, and at this point, we really get to where this storm has its act together. This is not going to be crazy stuff. It's not going to be super heavy. It's going to stay a bit breezy. It's going to stay a bit rainy. Overnight, watch what happens from that point. We get the widespread showers with us in the overnight hours. But what I want you to see after we get past sunrise, that kind of clears and we get a little bit of a break, and don't get fooled by that. Because by the time we get to tomorrow, in the late morning and early afternoon, you're going to see these isolated showers crop up like this. And there could be some thunderstorms mixed in that. That's what I want to look at in the complete forecast when we get back together, is the Monday morning and afternoon chance for isolated thunderstorms. I'll see you with that in a few minutes. Brian, back to you.
Darren, a community-wide effort to restore a vandalized mural near the Great Highway in San Francisco. Organizers tell us that more than 100 volunteers showed up, picked up a paintbrush this afternoon. The mural was defaced 2 nights ago, a day after the scenic roadway was shut down to cars for good. A majority of neighbors living near the Great Highway voted against closing the Great Highway, and some are trying to recall their supervisor who supported shutting it down. But defacing a mural?
The art is meant as a gift for the community, and with the community showing up to support it in this way, I hope people will realize that defacing the public art piece will have no bearing on this voter-determined measure.
Organizers are planning to clean up the mural yet again on Wednesday and Friday. But it is Sunday and still ahead at 5. Deadly tornadoes ripped through the centerland and southern U.S. Now, other states are under threat from the storm system, so Darren will be talking about that. And so will we when we come back. The death toll continues to rise after that huge storm system tore through the central and southern U.S. 37 people have died across 7 states. Tornado carved out a path of destruction in parts of Mississippi and Missouri. Buildings and homes were left in shreds, and an entire roof landed on a car. Fierce winds toppled trees and power lines, and a family in Arkansas took cover inside their home.
I had my daughter in the house with me, and I had to put her in the closet and just make sure everybody in the house was safe. That was my main goal.
The giant system will now shift east. More than 60 million people are under threat now for severe storms from Pennsylvania all the way to Florida. Just it's the old battle between the cold air of winter leaving and the hint of, warmer air coming in. Is it that battleground?
Man, yeah. That was our storm. Yeah. Wednesday.
Is that right?
It was here.
Yeah.
We had some severe thunderstorm warnings from it. We were live actually on the air at noon on Wednesday because we did have a few isolated thunderstorms across the city and the peninsula from it.
Yeah.
And then that storm moved off towards the midsection of the country.
Explain to us why it becomes so severe once it gets out there.
Can we get the wide map here so we can really see what we're standing on, guys? It has everything to do with the fact that when those storms get to the midsection of the country, they start accessing the Gulf. Those are sea surface temperatures. Yep. Look out here for a second. Take a look off the coast of California. Blue. So when the storms come in here, They've got a big batch of cold water sitting out here off the Pacific. They don't have the fuel to develop these thunderstorms.
Right.
When they race across the country and they get out to right where you're standing, they start pulling in all of this warm, moist air from down here, and they turn into monsters. And if you just look at the radar depiction from what the last 14 hours looks like as this storm has weakened, it took on a whole different nature to it.
Wow.
Look at the line down there, which extends down out into the Gulf. You can almost visualize pulling in all that fuel.
Yeah.
That's why these things are totally different.
And now off to the southeast, and now Georgia, Florida, and they're in trouble now, too.
Every place Brian just said. It's different. It's not going to be as intense.
Yeah.
So they still need to be on guard. The possibility for severe thunderstorms is still here and maybe isolated tornadoes.
Yep.
But it will not be the bullseye that happened like right here 48 hours ago. That was really, actually 24 hours ago, up to 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that got a break.
And that's why everybody moves to California? Is that
That, among other reasons.
that's one of the
Apparently, though, now they're leaving California. But that we're getting outside of weather.
let's
So
do the rest
let's
of it.
get back into the forecast for us in terms of what to expect for our side of this current rainmaker. We'll say goodbye to the map where we're looking at the United States. We're going to bring it back home. We're going to put the radar on here for the last hour. And what you see are just a few light showers that have started to show up now for the North Bay. We've already gotten a couple hundredths of an inch of rain in Santa Rosa from this. We've also gotten a little bit of rain down here in the peninsula. You can see a few showers there. But this is not the main event from tonight's rain. So let me show you again what that's going to look like. We'll take the imagery on, and we'll put on the futurecast that's going to get us to when this thing really kind of gets organized and gives us the best rain. Watch this big green blob. Now look at the time, 8 o'clock. So this is when the cold front comes on shore. By the time we get here, now we've entered the widespread rain for this system. We're not worried about flooding from this. It's not going to be overly intense. It just will be widespread, and everybody's going to get rained on from about 8 o'clock tonight through tomorrow morning at sunrise. Watch what happens. We're going to take it from this point, play it overnight. We get a little bit of a break at around like 3 in the morning, but that is not the end of this. Look what shows back up here as we get into tomorrow morning. So when we wake up at sunrise, the main rain band will have passed, but these little isolated bullseyes are going to come through. These are the isolated thunderstorms that have the ability to deliver more rain. Let me show you what those will look like in a slightly different way. We'll put the high-resolution rapid refresh model to work on this one because there's the rain we just saw in the overnight hours. But I really want you to see how that phase comes to an end tomorrow, and then that second phase shows up right there. So this is around sunrise. Those are different. This is where you can get some more isolated thunderstorms. It might be the bigger impact from this system because the widespread steady rain tonight, you'll sleep through most of it. It's not that big a deal. Those will get your attention if you happen to get one. That's 6:30 in the North Bay. Most of this will be in the North Bay through the day tomorrow. There's 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, still in the North Bay. And then after that, it will spread down for the rest of the bay, and then everybody else will get their chance through the late morning and early afternoon. Still have a chance here to get an isolated thunderstorm, and then watch that all finally clear out by the time we get to like sunset. Should be a real pretty sunset tomorrow. There's a lot of information in that forecast, and when you look at the rainfall totals, we probably get about a half an inch of rain overnight in the North Bay, about a quarter of an inch of rain everywhere else from that system. There is another one, but it's nowhere near as intense as this one. That one's going to show up back here by the time we get to Wednesday into Thursday. Isolated showers Wednesday night into Thursday morning, maybe another quarter of an inch of rain. Really doesn't look like much. We're going to go over this in much more detail. Look at the storm as a whole.
And welcome back. A Bay Area-born artist is bringing his culture to life, one spray can at a time. Esteban Reynoso has more on his important message to his community and to you. Watch.
Adrian Delgado was raised in Tracy.
I went to middle school, high school here.
5 fingers.
Now he's a Miami-based tattoo artist trading his canvas for this.
I've been doodling and drawing for fun since I was a kid, you know, and I never knew that it was going to take me here.
Here is coming full circle back to Tracy. On the south side of TCS Insurance Brokers' offices on Central Avenue, a Mexican-owned business in downtown, a place he's passed by time and time again, now has commissioned him to breathe life into the city. Mexican history like the Mayan pyramids and monarch butterflies and
the Virgin Mary. Yeah, she's a queen, you know. She's the one that we've been praying to our whole lives, and you know, everybody has the photo of her in their house, and everything around her is just, you know, cultural, important. We wanted to show our culture, something happy, something vibrant, and you know, that's kind of why I chose the happy colors.
Vibrance and happiness during a time of uncertainty for some in the Hispanic community.
He said, hey, I want to do something for the community. I want to do something for, you know, the Hispanic culture.
Delgado says that he's been working day and night, even nonstop at times, to get this mural as finished as can be. His hope is that this vibrant mural not only brings a sense of community to people, but also brings a positive expression to Mexican culture.
This mural that we did is to make people feel like they have a place here. They're safe, you know, with everything that's going on. People are scared to be, you know, to be themselves, or to sometimes to speak Spanish, or, you know, and so, you know, you shouldn't be scared.
You know, I see that and I think to myself, gee, it'd be nice to have talent, wouldn't it? I mean, to be able to just do that, it's got to be a gene, doesn't it? People who can draw can just draw, and people who can't, believe me, can't. It'd be nice to be able to. That's it at 5. We'll see you back here at 6 for an hour of news. Local news continues streaming on CBS News Bay Area. Weekend News is next, and see you in 30 minutes.